Excellent. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my show, Reinvent Yourself. This is Anu, your host. This show is all about diving into the cool stories of people who have totally transformed themselves. I started this because, well, I'm on my own reinvention journey and needed some tips and pep talks. Let me tell you, each episode gave me just that, a boost to keep pushing forward. We are back after a short break. Blame it on my recent travels. But during this time, I binged on all our old episodes from Reinvent Yourself YouTube channel, and it kept me going. To make up for the lost time and bring some serious inspiration, today's guest is someone whose story will give you all the good vibes and maybe even nudge us to take some new challenges in our lives. So, buckle up for a ride full of positivity and real talk. Our guest embarked on his journey in the Indian Defense Services, ascending to the rank of major. And after diverse experiences in the tech field, he is currently the recipient of the Entrepreneur of the Year award from Edison Chamber of Commerce, New Jersey. From this, I see that he has reinvented himself multiple times in different stages of his career. We are very honored and proud to have Major Krishnachari join us in our show titled Reinvent Yourself, Army Major turned Tech Entrepreneur of the Year. Sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you. And that was an excellent introduction. I really appreciate the time you've taken to probably get me on this talk show with you. And I look forward to a really meaningful discussion and with your audience.
Right.
And
So, sir, just to our audience, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself? Uh, how would you sum up your experiences just in a two lines, and then we'll go in depth into it.
sure. So I'm a retired major and an Army aviation pilot, a tank commander from the Army, and a tank technology expert, where I worked with DRDO with the erstwhile President of India, Dr. Abdul Kalam, when he was the head of DRDO. And finally, in today's context, a successful entrepreneur in my 40th year of checkered service with unconditional support from my family. Uh, Above all, a proud father and husband. My wife, Usha, who's an attorney and a senior partner at New York Life. My son, Vineet, daughter in law, Sharyu, daughter, Sanjana, son in law, Nirmal, and our adorable grandson, Ayan. So we all stay as a close knit family in and around New Jersey in the US over the last 24 years.
Awesome. It's so nice and I know warm when when we generally talk about introduction, people talk about the career and their achievements. But while you bring your family into it, it shows what a well-rounded and how each of the family is so close knit and support each other.
Mhm.
And it's so much of a motivation for people to kind of see that just career is not a part of career is just a part of life, but your life and your family are also major stakeholders or part of your life as such.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's always been my first priority, family first. So
Excellent, excellent.
we'll
um,
talk more in detail about that when we go over
sure, sure, sure.
the interview.
So yeah, so let's go from the beginning. So let's talk about your military service. What was your motivation to join defense services, and can you tell us a little bit of your experiences in the military field?
Sure. So, going back into my childhood, I was born in north of India, though my family, my father and mom both came from Tamil Nadu. My father was a engineer and a senior executive in public sector. So he started his career in BHEL in Haridwar and Bhopal. And then in public enterprises, like any other government service, it's a transferable job. So in 1960, a new company for doing structural engineering was coming up in Prayagraj, today's Prayagraj. Those days it used to be called Allahabad, where my father was moved from BHEL Haridwar to this place in 1960. And then I was born in 1961 in this so-called religious town that produced five prime ministers of India,
Oh.
straight from Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, and then Lal Bahadur Shastri, and Vishwanath Pratap Singh, and Chandrasekhar. So to name these five, and so it comes with a lot of kind of government impact and political. That's where most of independent struggle was fought by Mahatma Gandhi and the Nehru family. So that's what that town is. And so I kind of, when I was about 10 years of age, the India Pakistan war happened in 1971. And most of the war effort from Indian army was executed from this town in North India. And those days there used to be a division which is like almost 40,000 army soldiers in a cantonment, and we were staying very close to the cantonment. So the impact after India won the war was heavy in terms of the exposure I, as a 10-year-old, got. And with my own eyes, I remember my father taking us to this prisoner of war camp where I saw 90,000 prisoners from the Pakistan army. And then at that time, the chief of the army was General Manekshaw, who became the field marshal, the first field marshal of the Indian army. And I remember very well how, what a leader he was, that he used to come on the radio and address the civil public about what was going on in the war, and how we were fighting war on two fronts, and what we as responsible citizens had to do. And as children, I still remember many of my seniors from school became pilots in the Indian Air Force. And we used to hear their name on the radio, going for dogfights against the saber jets, and we had Nats. So all of that kind of gave me a lot of, I would say, motivation to probably look at this as a career. And as children, even today, if you ask any child what you want to be, they all mostly would say, I want to be a pilot. That's one of the most sought after
Right.
kind of profession for an infant, though things change over as you move along in your life. So that's when I kind of got, so to say, motivated into joining the defense services. And then as I moved along and I came into high school, I actually prepared myself so much over those 10 years between 71 and 1979 when I finished my 12th. I got into the National Defense Academy in Pune, and I decided that I will graduate out of the Defense College and go into the army right from there rather than going after my graduation from the civil street. But being the eldest in the family, my parents were not very keen to see me go through this career so early in life. They wanted me to make my choice, and they were very open-minded people. Though coming from south of India, I think the exposure of the north was a big change in even their thought process. And so I was very motivated that I would anyway go into the defense services. And then I went on to graduate out of Allahabad University, did my Bachelor of Commerce. And then the first attempt at doing anything, I just wrote the Combined Defense Services exam again from the UPSC. Got selected in all the three services, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force.
Awesome. Mm.
And around that time, I was in such an age where I could make my own decision. I was already 20, graduate. And so I just uh, did the exam. And when I got the interview, till then I hadn't told my parents. And then the interview came. It was one of the best experiences of my life. Um, my parents told me, okay, we'll buy you a train ticket. I had to go to Bangalore all the way. It was a 3 days journey by train, those days from north to south. And I was all motivated, and that I already made my decision that I was going into the army. And I went to face this. My parents just told me, you can take the interview, it will be an experience, but I think you should do an MBA. So, because my father, he was an engineer in those days, and one of the earliest MBAs of his time. So he thought that for me, MBA might be a very good path to becoming an executive. But once I went and I faced the interview, it was almost a 15 days process. Unlike the interviews that you see today, which
Yes,
is
yes.
just half an hour to an hour, they really grill you over 15 days. See every bit of your personality from the morning till the night, including keeping a watch over you when you're sleeping. So all those kind of things play into one's personality before selection into the military. So I had a great experience there, and that was my brief introduction and motivation to join the forces.
Awesome. This is a great story, and as you rightly said, people when when you're not exposed to all those things, you always look at the defense services you with respect and all those, but you don't want to go and do that because you always think it's risky and a lot of other things. And how you were there at that point and you got to
Correct.
see those things,
Yes.
experience it firsthand, and as a child, I think that makes a lot of what to say, gives you a lot more motivation to do that,
Yes.
and you pursued
I
it.
pursued it.
And
And
as you rightly said, really, I would give it to your parents so much to even let you do that. Of course, they did have some,
mhm, mhm.
feelings of
Yeah, being
not.
the eldest, they thought, okay, son, eldest in the family, why should he go? Probably. But I still remember, once I came back from the interview with the selection, I
Mhm.
was one amongst two people who got selected out of 50 in that interview board.
Wow.
So that was the rate of selection. It was, and that was also an experience. I will probably talk about something from that
Mhm.
as an anecdote to the
Right.
process of the interview. But I still remember once I came back, and my father was the most positive person in just saying one thing. And he used to talk a lot about, idioms and how each one would apply to your life. And he
Mhm.
said, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. So I, I knew I had his, blessings.
Blessings.
And
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Seriously, seriously. Of course, they would have seen your motivation and how driven you were. And as you rightly said, every kid wants to be a pilot. I have a young daughter who wants to be a police officer because she
yeah,
saw someone on the,
correct.
on TV or something. But as they age, things change. But your
Things,
motivation
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
a little bit more than that, and you stuck to
yes,
it and took up those exams. And
yeah.
those were not easy times to get into the defense forces, as you rightly
Yes,
said.
absolutely. Because India had just come out of the war, and
Exactly.
life in the army was not, going to be easy either. because I had a lot of my maternal uncles. They were also one of the driving force for me.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
mother's brothers, a couple of
Mm-hmm.
them were colonels, brigadier. One of her sister's husband was a wing commander in the Air Force. He had
Mm.
flown during the 71 war. So all these people, I used to keep meeting them during our summer vacations when I
Mm-hmm.
used to come to Chennai or for a family get together. And so they all were very motivational because they used to be in the uniform, and I was very heavily driven by the impact that uniform carried on my
Right.
mind, and the
Right.
respect. They used to come in an army
Jeep.
jeep, and then with a driver and a person at the back, escorting them. I used to feel that this is seems to be one of the most kind of elegant services to see. You never think about the remuneration and other
Mm.
things, when it comes to the defense services, because it's more of a matter of pride for the nation that you serve. Army is nothing but a privilege that very few get to enjoy, just because they kind of go through the kind of service that they do. And this is all that you're doing, whether a country has a small army or a big army. What I believe is their life is of the soldier or a commander from the defense forces is nothing but serving their country. The country comes, that's the army's motto as well. The country comes first, always and every time. So I think that's the major impact
So,
that.
so, so rightly put, the country comes first, and how you kind of have to change all your perspective. Don't put yourself first. Don't look at the remuneration part
Yeah,
of it,
yeah.
but feel the proud feeling of actually serving the country.
Country.
And
Yes.
as you rightly said, those are the times when the war was very real. At least touch wood, we feel that now things are a little bit better. I wouldn't say that I things keep changing very things are very volatile around the world, but that time it was so real because we had just had a war with Pakistan, and
Yeah.
we are trying to
Yeah.
kind of defend our borders on all different fronts.
Yeah.
So at that time, being okay to take that challenge, that is definitely a lot of national pride, and you should have the motivation on that side.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then, like having family with people who have been in that
So
also helps a lot.
absolutely, absolutely. That's a huge motivation because your parents, whatever inhibitions they have, they at
Hmm.
least know their brother and others have been there, so they
Hmm.
can consult them. They can ask them, is he making the right decision? So I think all of that played into. And my father was in a government service. He was an engineer.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some of the retired colonels had come and joined his factory.
Right.
So yeah,
So,
in administration and other areas. So
mm.
he used to see them, that these people are there. They're very highly respected. In those days, respect used to mean a lot, from the government service point of view.
Of course, of course. That's the whole salute. You salute to army and the all the people who are in forces like that. So that was that kind of. I think we were also more very, what to say, national movements were very on the high.
Correct.
Everyone wanted to feel as a part of the country and things like that. So it's a
Yeah,
great time.
yeah,
I think we should actually take this on a tangent on a later time and do a complete show about your just your army thing, because I'm sure there are going to be a lot more stories for us to explore. Uh, but we'll slowly move forward
yeah,
and maybe revisit the army a little later. But wanted to kind of go a little bit forward and see how was the transition, because this seems like a very great job to be in, great thing to do, because
yeah,
serving the country. What
yeah,
prompted you to reinvent yourself and move towards the tech field after like
yeah, yeah.
3 years in army?
So essentially, I served for 12 years, and
Mhm.
it was a very checkered kind of a career in the army because I joined a tank regiment after my military academy training for 2 years in
Mhm.
'83.
Mhm.
And during those days, we were again coming to a warlike scenario. during the 1984-85, Blue Star operations, um, of what we see today, coming back, Khalistan movement and stuff. So we were all deployed in the front, and I was a troop leader, commanding three tanks in my troop. So we were always on the kind of alert, being in the border area. I was in Jammu, Kashmir.
Wow.
That is around the time when terrorism started. I, and we were kind of, so to say, baptized by fire, with all of the things that were building up, going on. So as a young troop leader, we have kind of a training for young officers. um, Only three things they talk about is: know your job, know your men, and keep your men informed. So essentially, you almost sit and spend your complete day with the troops as a young officer. You have to know them so well as to even know what his problems are in his village, right to the district magistrate to solve his problem, that because this guy is sitting in a front in a war zone, he cannot attend to it, so you need the civil administration's help. So you write letters as a officer, asking them to look into this matter. There are many people who have disputes, family disputes, land disputes. They all come from very rural background. There, most of them are only matriculates, the jawans or soldiers who come in. So as an officer, you have to guide them, and many of them are married, separated from family, sitting in the war front. So as a young officer, that's how you get baptized by fire, and you become a good leader. Because the one thing that we do in the army is lead from the front. A leader does not give orders from the rear, expecting his soldiers to go and fight. So those kind of leadership skills are developed in the early part of your career. And you have to be in the front, and unless you know the job, you cannot expect your soldiers to deliver. And that's when you slowly develop all the skills. And I moved along, and then I became the adjutant of my regiment again, in Punjab during the peak days of terrorism. I was managing my whole regiment, about 1,000 soldiers, men's officers, all of their, complete deployment, and the confidentiality in terms of all of the, what is our plan and stuff. So I used to maintain that. So that's how we kind of learned. And then I moved on to become a pilot. Army sent me to the Air Force Academy. Again, I went through training. So all of this inception into technology, and then later being selected as to go overgo engineering at a very prestigious institute called the Defense Institute of Advanced Technology, DIAT, where only engineering at the graduate level, which in the US terms is graduate, called uh, MTech and MS, is done in very confidential technologies like tank technologies, satellite technologies, metallurgy, armament, all of that which ISRO or ISRO scientists or the DRDO scientists come and train. So I went there and I did my tank technology engineering in about my 8th year of service, after having done some flying for a couple of years and then been in a tank battalion. And then Dr. Kalam, he picked me up from there and deputed me to a DRDO lab in Avadi, and where I went on to serve, and kind of was instrumental in inducting India's first main battle tank called the Arjun tank, which is now can be seen in the Republic Day parade.
Awesome.
So that was a major achievement and inception into management and technology. Management from the perspective of going from the defense services and going and working with the scientists, top scientists of the DRDO, and then managing the whole general staff qualitative requirement which the army had laid down for me to have a watch over, and then work with the scientists. We used to build prototypes of the Arjun. So we built 12 prototypes between 1990 and 1994. And all these 12 prototypes, then I kind of loaded on broad flat units of the railway and then took them to Rajasthan in 95. We underwent extensive trial over 2 years with Dr. Kalam sitting there with us, along with all the other scientists. And then we used to bring in the defense minister and the prime minister, the defense secretary, and the defense procurement team and showcase to them what we were doing. And finally, in 1995, Indian Army decided to buy these tanks from DRDO. So all of that inception and training and technology and exposure prompted me. And then that was the mid 90s when India was just emerging as a free market in technology. Software was coming up in a big way. I had major exposure to CAD CAM software tools we used to design for design engineering or PMBT. And then I was trained on electronics integration, how to integrate thermal imaging, third generation thermal imaging devices in because the tank is not like just an automotive, but it has three different aspects to it. One is the mobility, which is the automotive part, but then there is the armament, which is called the gun systems, and then you have the night vision devices because you are got to fight the battle in night. Then there is communication equipment by which you give and take orders because you're all closed down, you cannot see anybody. And then apart from that is the satellite communication that you do for your GPS. India was so advanced, so to say, GPS and other things got introduced to the civil um, people only in the early 2000s and late 90s. But we already had a GPS system which we were using for satellite communication for our tanks in the early 90s.
Awesome, awesome. Like, you talk about those technologies as if you were working on it yesterday. That shows how much of, like, what to say, how that work had kind of made an impact on you,
Impact
and
on, yeah,
that you still remember it as if it was like, you
yeah.
just have the plan in front of you and you're giving a presentation and having worked
And
with.
this posting was in Chennai.
Mhm.
So the family also was introduced to the civil way of life. My son started going to school there, so
Right.
that had a major impact, on me
Mm.
in terms of how well family bonding and the family being there
Right.
impacted. Because earlier, like I had told you, as a bachelor, I was by myself in a front, in Jammu and Kashmir and Punjab. But there's exposure to the Chennai, family life and bonded way of life was a great exposure. And that's where it prompted me to look at, shifting from technology into what I had learned at DRDO and then executing it in a software industry environment. And they
Excellent.
also accepted me with all the experience that I brought into the senior management. I joined as a general manager. So it was not that I was starting my career again from the a programming level,
Right.
software engineer, but straight into the management. So they kind of gave me a lot of importance in terms of what I was bringing to the table that they could learn from. in terms of my leadership skills and management and technology exposure.
Exactly. I think, they always say that the defense forces kind of brings makes a person all-rounded personality. And you can clearly see how you're explaining that, as you were progressing in your role in the
Yeah.
army, you picked up so many skills, which is like,
Yeah.
people have sessions and training sessions for leadership
Yeah.
qualities.
I think I've always said this, and I keep repeating it quite often when I see young people, is that the first opportunity, if you can get to do anything, if you can serve in the defense services for at least 5 years of your initial life, it makes you a very rounded personality. I can tell you that, because the kind of moves that you go through, the frequent moves, it's not just that the family also moves along with you. The children also get to expose to different environments, different weather conditions, different schools, different kind of, how diverse India is, right?
Mhm.
It's 26 languages, so many states, different types of religious festivities and celebrations, all of that put together. That's a major exposure, and then put along with that comes your defense background of, see, the key to the defense services, and specifically the army, is and how it's different to the civil way of life, is that whatever you're doing, there is a threat to life. See, there is a life of the soldiers, the people who are commanding them, the leaders who are leading them to the front. Their life is at stake. In civil, your life is not at stake when you're conducting your day to day life. So that gives you a lot of grit and determination, in terms of, because that is one of the skills called courage. And courage under fire is completely different. That makes you a leader.
Fair
So
enough. This is
that is all that which kind of prompts you and helps you in your career path when you come out of the defense services.
exactly, like, nowadays, a mistake a person does in a civilian job or even a software job can maybe cause some delays, maybe cause some money problem, or those are the only way. But
You
this,
might end up losing your job, or you
yeah,
might not get your
yeah,
promotion for some
exactly.
time, but you
But
don't end up losing your life, right?
and not just
There,
yours.
if you do a mistake, you only get one chance.
Exactly. This is not like a game where you have three lives. So it's like life is not like that. And they're not just for your life. You, as a leader, you're responsible for a team,
Yeah,
and so the leadership quality that you would
yeah,
get there is way
yeah.
different from
Yeah,
what
we
you
have
can.
a system called the buddy system.
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
like, which I was describing to you in my initial days, like as a lieutenant, literally I was sleeping in the barracks. Though we have a officers' mess and where we stay, but the
Mm-hmm.
training for us is that you have to know your. So you maintain a small diary,
Mm-hmm.
which is always in your pocket, and your
Right.
seniors check it.
Right.
So when
Right.
you
Right.
go to the office,
Mm-hmm.
when you're standing in front of them, report to the adjutant, who is
Mm-hmm.
responsible for all the young officers up to the rank of a captain.
Mm-hmm.
The adjutant would ask you, okay, show me your diary. And in the diary, he will go through each and every 15 or 20 members of your troop,
Mm-hmm.
their name, their family, how many children they have, which city or village he comes from, what is his father's name, what is his mother's name, what's his home address, what does he like, what he dislikes. Because when you're taking them into battle, you as
Mm-hmm.
an officer need to know
Mm-hmm.
how he would react under what kind of a condition. So if you know from before who are those five trusted people who I can trust them to go into a very sensitive kind of an action,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
will this guy deliver or not? or
Right.
Willie Buckle.
Right.
So,
So
so
no.
those are the times when you bond. That's called the bonding, and we used to have something called crew cooking. So each tank has a crew of 4 members.
Right.
There's a tank commander who's like a sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
He's a non-commissioned officer, and then there is a gunner who fires the gun. There is a loader who loads the big ammunition
Mm-hmm.
rounds, and then there's a driver who's driving the tank. And then I am the super commander who's like the troop leader. I have 3 tanks with me. So
Wow.
12, 4, 4, 4, 12. Then I have my tank, which is my squadron commander's tank, which has 3 members under me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So imagine 20 of us, and I have to make sure I know each one of them to the T. Who will deliver, who will not deliver, who can I say, here, I want you to go and do this. Will he say or not? So that's where that thing which I talked about, know your job. If I don't know, and if they don't think that I can, as an
Mhm.
officer, do it, then they are not going to take the order.
Exactly. I think that's the leader 101, right? You have to get the respect and trust of the people
Of the
working. And that's
Yeah,
more like, vital in terms of your army thing, because it's not like, okay, I won't listen to this leader. You can't do that because
yeah.
it
I
kind of.
still remember an anecdote from my military academy days. These generals come and address you as
Mhm.
young officers. And in our time, we were lucky because India had just seen a war 10 years back. So I was at a stage where the serving field marshal, who was the general of the Indian Army in 1971 war, very famous. There is a
Mhm.
movie also going to be coming out very soon on him. His name is Sam Bahadur Manekshaw, very famous general. You can look him up. So he told us, he came and addressed us in the military academy before I became a lieutenant. And what he said is, if somebody says that he's not afraid, then he's either lying or he's a Gurkha soldier. And then he went on to narrate a story about the Second World War when he was a major and he was commanding a Gurkha company of 100 men. And the
Mhm.
British army had gone into a campaign in the Burma. If you read or have read about World War II, you will
Mhm.
see a lot of the battle was fought in Burma,
Okay.
in this sector, in where
Mhm.
India is, in
Mhm.
South Asia. So during the battle, Burma is nothing but tea estates and very thick jungle, tropical
Mhm.
climate, rainfall 365 days, very difficult, leeches that stick to your skin, suck out
Mhm.
the blood. So, in that kind of a condition, he was tasked as a company commander, a major, to go into battle. And he was told by the British general that, Major, you will take your tomorrow at dawn, you will be paratrooped into the jungles in Burma. And this is the place where the Japanese, we were fighting the Japanese that time
Mhm.
because we were part of the
Okay.
Allied forces.
Allied forces.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he says that I had to address my men, to motivate them for the next day's operation. It happens in the army. That's how you tell them that what are we going in for, what to expect. So he addressed them and he said that tomorrow at dawn we will be picked up from this location where we are presently, and then we'll be taken by uh, uh, an aircraft, a transport aircraft, over the jungles in Burma, and you'll be paradropped into the jungles. And then once you are paradropped, you will be, we'll reorganize, and then attack this place where the Japanese are,
Mhm.
And so at the end of every briefing, as they call in the army, uh, they ask one thing called koi shak. Is there any doubt?
Mhm.
And so one Jawan, he got up and he said, Saab, how what is the height from where we'll be pushed out of this aircraft? So the general said it's about 1,000 feet from where you will be paradropped. So the next soldier next to him said, Saab, if you had paradropped us from 600 feet, I think we would survive and then be able to attack. 1,000 feet is a little difficult because we might get hurt. Not even realizing that they were all using a para. They thought that they would be just jumping from the aircraft and land. Can you imagine 600 feet? The soldier was ready to jump without understanding there is a parachute.
Parachute.
So that is the courage of a Gorkha soldier. And that's how was the motivation, that leadership. So what the general meant to tell us was that, hey, you're going to become leaders of tomorrow. And these are the kind of troops that you are going to take into battle, who are ready without a parachute to jump from 600 feet and go into battle thinking that they would survive, because from that 1,000 feet, he thinks he won't survive, but in 600, he is ready to jump. Remember, you have to lead from the front.
So rightly said. And we only hear of this about people like that, so committed and without any doubt ready to give up and saying that, okay, I can jump just anywhere for the country, for your team, and things like that.
Yeah.
To even experience it in
Yeah.
person and seeing such things is such a motivation
Excellent.
and
I
such
mean,
a
that's,
humbling feeling. Yeah.
yeah, that's a kind of training you get. That's what makes you a rounded personality. This buddy system,
Right.
they never go a single. If you see any of the war movies, you will see two people together, each
Right.
one. And why that buddy system is, if one of the guys gets injured, you know that as part of the training, we have to carry, with all the things that we carry, we have to carry that guy and bring him back to the camp.
The camp.
You
Wow.
cannot leave them there. That's why the buddy system is there.
So much of, like, I think just listening to this so far, people would, like, okay, today I have to go enlist myself, and go into the forces and try to do some
Yeah,
service, not just of course for your country, for all that, but also a sense of belonging, being in a team,
yeah,
leading from the front. There are so many skills you learn being a part of the army. So
yeah,
now, moving slightly forward, how did you kind of adapt yourself into the tech field,
yeah,
move to different technology sectors, international moves, and then entrepreneurial journey? So how
yeah.
was your journey from there? Because
I see the 12 years of my checkered career in the military,
Mhm,
and then getting into the software industry, serving in India,
mhm,
in a senior management role, building teams, you know,
mhm,
software teams, understanding. And I always followed one thing as my motto, which I kept with me and I keep till date, is lead from the front. So I said, if I have to be a good manager,
mhm,
then I have to lead from the front. So um, one of the key things when I became a general manager in this software company is, in those
mhm.
days as a general manager, you used to have a room, a cabin, independent, and all the guys working outside. But I was the only manager, and I take pride in this. The CEO of the company and other vice presidents, and he says, a lot to learn from you is that I never used to sit in my room. I used to go and sit with my uh, staff and work with them on whatever they were doing,
Mm.
and be with them, spend time with them. If they had a late evening or late night shift, I used to be sitting there till midnight. If there were any client visits happening, I used to make sure that that night I was there in the office, preparing well with the team for the next day's event.
I
All of
guess.
that was a trend which I
Right.
brought into this company, which they never even knew existed.
Yes, those were the days the hierarchy was very important.
Yeah,
Like, you look at the manager, you get up, say, sir, they
yeah,
kind of have, as you said, a separate room, not sit with us, not
yeah.
actually try to
Because
understand.
my predecessor was like that. He was a colonel. Uh,
Oh.
yes. And
Hmm.
but they used to say that Colonel Saab never came out of the room, sir. He used to come in the morning and he sit and just read the newspaper, and then after that call people at 10 o'clock and then take an update from them, and then attend some meetings, and then have his own lunch, and then by evening 5 p.m. his car used to come and he used to be gone. So I
Right.
used to do everything right from my morning meetings to lunch, everything with them. The team would be there together through the day with me, with whatever, even the lighter moments and weekends. I used to take them out, over lunch or over dinner, with their families, doing bonding, all of that. I used to rent a beach home in Mahabalipuram over the weekend, spend time with their families, me and my wife. A lot of things that what we used to do in the military, in the army. I brought all of that culture to the.
I
So
think.
that kind of the journey made it much more easy and much more, I would say, interesting for
Mhm,
me and
mhm.
my team in
Right.
all of what I did. And
Right.
so then of course was a learning experience in how a corporate culture is and what
Mhm,
happens, what I need to know. And I was a very fast learner. Like I had been through, from a hardcore army
mhm,
officer to a technology expert working with the scientists in DRDO.
mhm,
So whatever I had learned there in the 6 years I was in DRDO in
mhm.
technology was all executed in, you know
Excellent. I think you brought the right spirit into the corporate world. You brought the good part of the team building
yeah,
and
yeah.
being leading from the front, not just leading from the front, being one among the world, people
Workers,
who are
yes,
workers.
that is the key to
Yes.
anything,
Right.
which is lacking today, coincidentally, because people just start taking things so seriously that they forget that there is something that if you have to deliver, you have to deliver as a team.
Exactly.
Things don't work in something like, and that's where I attribute every part of my success or my journey have been a team effort, whether the team is my family, or the team is my actual team of
Work.
at work.
So nice that you could bring back family here, which is so nice that you see that being a part of a bigger thing. Everyone wants to kind of get an individuality to say that I led this, I did this, instead of that saying we did it, and
Yeah,
also giving the credit to each person who has been a part of the bigger team,
yeah,
understanding that difficulty because you're sitting with them and working,
yeah,
not just saying okay, you've not met the deadline.
yeah,
That makes you a people manager,
yeah,
which is I think, as you rightly said, rare these days, but
yeah.
a very good success mantra that you should have is like be a part of the team and lead from the front, but lead among them.
Yes,
Being
yes.
amongst them,
And
yeah.
that's what prompted, this company, Square D, where I started my corporate career
Uh-huh.
as a general manager, to introduce, after seeing how I conducted myself,
Mhm.
they had a program for all managers called the Bulletproof Manager.
Nice.
So,
Nicely done.
you know, so the CEOs and others used to say there's a lot that we have to learn from you. And that also was another thing that was contributed to my moving overseas to Dubai
Mm.
and US, because they felt that I was meant more to be client facing,
Right.
and
Mhm.
the these kind of skills I carried were such that it would benefit the company if I was one of their managers overseas.
Overseas. Definitely. They want a person who can engage with people, understand the people's needs, and then translate it to be the client facing person. And
Yeah.
at the same time, not lose touch with the people who are actually
True.
doing the work. Because
Yeah.
if that bridge is not there,
There,
anyone can be
they
a
would, you would
salesperson.
be meeting the clients. You
Right.
would be probably signing a couple of orders. But if the delivery doesn't happen, and you're
Exactly.
not able to translate what the client's expectation is, it's not going to work. You know.
Exactly. Just, meeting the clients is one thing. You can just give a sales pitch and just say that,
Yeah.
oh, yes, we can
Yeah,
do
we'll do
everything.
it. We'll do it, and
Yeah.
make it so competitive that they have to think, okay, in commercial terms, also these guys are good. But
Right,
that's
right,
not
right.
all that happens, right? It will be a one-hit wonder, so to say. You might close a
Exactly.
deal, but there won't be repetitive orders.
Exactly. I think for a successful career, you say, as you rightly said, that raise the client, talk to them,
Yeah,
understand them, but also know the challenges and work pattern of the team, and
yeah,
then find out what is the best match instead of just overcommitting or not representing the team well. So
yeah,
that's a good thing, good mix. So from that to starting Priyamba Soft,
yes,
how did you think you should start a company of your own, and a
yeah,
little bit more about
yeah,
Priyamba?
sure. So, you know, one of the things that my experience from Square D
Mhm.
was that it took me to Dubai, which gave me an international exposure, working there with a much larger team,
Mhm.
almost 350 engineers under the Y2K program for a very marquee client
Okay.
called the Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, ADNOC.
Okay.
They were converting from their mainframes to the Y2K issue. So
At that
we
time.
solved that problem. And then the senior management felt as a director on site for managing projects and people,
Mhm.
you have been a very strong force there for our company
Right.
overseas. I think it's time that you move to the US. So they moved me in 99 to
Mhm.
the United States as a general manager, where I was managing the sales force, the sales managers, because I was new to the market. So
Right.
they didn't make me instantly a client facing manager,
Mhm.
but made me responsible as a general manager to manage the complete sales managers. So
Okay.
the whole managing the sales pipeline, the flow, pre-sales activity, all of that, preparing the capability, and keeping a track on what is happening, each one's targets, and those kind of things. So I was almost like a de facto CEO. The CEO
Mhm.
used to be in India. There was
Right.
no US CEO.
Okay.
So that gave me a very great exposure to managing the whole company, from the HR to the finance, and I was made the company's officer. It's a public listed company, so two officers have to sign on the company's financial statements and balance sheet every year
Mhm.
during the tax filing. So
Mhm.
I was one of them. So that gave me a complete understanding of the business, how the
Mm.
business was doing, profitability, what the salespeople were doing, how did the pipeline look like. So it was a de facto CEO kind of a job, which I was
Mm.
very early in my days in the US doing. And that kind of helped me to understand the complete business process and
Right.
what you need to do in a business and what you shouldn't be doing. I learned those things as well. And
Right.
then the company got acquired in 2003 as a kind of a takeover by a larger group. And then there, I kind of came into the business mold. They found that I had a very good and sharp understanding of the complete business process model. And
Mhm.
so they made me a vice president and made me responsible for the engineering business, because they found that my USP was my DRDO experience of
Mhm.
understanding the engineering process. And it was also a very good training for me to understand the US market and geography. You it was such a great experience. You will not believe. Monday morning, 6 a.m., I used to take my bags and start my travel. I
Mm.
used to travel crisscrossing United States of America from state to state, going meeting clients. And this company was working with Dassault, which is aircraft manager, Airbus
Mm.
aircrafts, and all the defense aircrafts like Mirage 2000s and various other aircrafts are all manufactured by Dassault. They have an engineering software called Katia, and Katia and product lifecycle management, which is in every manufacturing or software engineering process, driven PLM, product lifecycle management, from inception of a new product to obsolescence. When you phase out a product, you use this PLM. So I was selling PLM on behalf of Dassault to almost 600 clients they had in US, right from a medical device company to an aircraft manufacturing to a shoe manufacturer like Adidas or New Balance, or a clothing manufacturer like Columbia, or
Mhm.
you know Johnson and Johnson, you name it, and Applied Materials. All
Right.
of these large clients, marquee clients, I was meeting project managers and program managers, and I built a kind of a delivery base out of Bangalore for them with about 150 engineers, and
Wow.
created something called a product factory. And in that product factory, what we used to do is go and meet all these installed bases where this
Mhm.
product was implemented, called the Matrix One,
Mhm.
and then take that product to the next level, like an upgrade or any new initiatives that the company was having, so to manage their new uh, field. So,
Right. Right.
so the car, like in those days, Honda Accord and all of that came through this PLM.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
BMW, Benz, the C3 series of the BMW, all of that was what I was doing. So it was a journey, right from transitioning into management to going into sales, and then
Mhm.
connecting back into my technology experience at DRDO, and then forefronting engineering services for this company.
So, as a part of this, you kind of, the main parts to actually start a company, you had the engineering background, which is the tech background and things like that. You have the process background because you were the kind of, signing authority. So that part of it, the processes, the things.
Yeah, the
Then you
management
also got the
of business.
management thing, and you also got the sales field next, where you were traveling and you understood the market. I think those were like good components. I
Absolutely.
think if you had not started a company, that would have been really not right. So,
Yeah, actually. And, so I did it three times. So for
okay.
this company, I was at that stage when I started, and
Okay.
it was, mind you, a startup because they acquired a company, and this
Oh,
was a
okay.
new line of business. So I
Right.
built in over a 3-year period that I was with them from 2002 to 2005. I
Right.
built a $11 million revenue line.
Ooh.
So that was the first. So I tested every part of the business, including managing a revenue in
Sales and
those
all.
days in 2003. So I said it gave me a lot of confidence. And then
Mm.
came 2005, where a set of entrepreneurs from the Silicon Valley approached
Mm.
me. They said that you come from a military background, and we are interested in starting a training software solution. So those days, trainings were happening in classroom based. All the corporate training were
Right.
happening as a CBT.
Mm.
So they said, let's take it virtual.
Oh. Mm.
Yes. And so they said that all the training and the way you used to conduct training in the military is what we want to bring into this software,
Mm.
offering it through a virtual.
Mm.
So I joined this leadership team as an executive VP, and then became a senior VP of the company. And I was managing the complete Northeast region for them, company called Expertus One.
Smart. Okay.
And then we built this virtual training and every client that you can think of in different domains, like Bank of America for their, their own corporate training. They call
Mm-hmm.
it the school in the corporate. It's an
Mm.
intranet based.
All right.
Go and then you join. Suppose you want to do something in Cisco certification,
Right.
you go to something called a platform called the Cisco University, and then
Right.
you see a catalog of 5,000 trainings and certifications available. We
Right.
used to run that
Wow.
for Cisco, Symantec, NetApp, ADP, ConocoPhillips, Schlumberger, Halliburton, you name it. And we had Bank of America. We set up the university program for every corporate university that needed this. Is to run it from Chennai. We had a what do you call a training outsourcing organization that
Mm-hmm.
used to manage the university. So
Mm-hmm.
if you called the Cisco University, say you were interested in a course, it used to land in our Chennai office, and they used to do the enrollment,
Awesome.
like it happens in today's educational universities.
Mm, mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm, mm.
most of them are managed by
Offshore. Mm.
offshore. So LSO we used to call it. So I used to work with the chief learning officers of different organizations, and that's where we built this platform, and then we took it to the cloud and offered it as a SaaS model.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent almost like from 2005 to 2013 running this company, and I was managing close to about $10 million in revenue
Mm-hmm.
with a team of 40 engineers working with me in
Right.
doing this. So again, I built this from scratch. So that again was the second time over when I learned how to manage a complete business from inception to building to taking it to a revenue more
Mm.
run rate of almost 250K a month. And so that's when, at that point, when my wife, who's a, as I call, the energizer bunny of our family, uh, great motivator, attorney, she said, I think the time has come when you should be an entrepreneur and you build this for everybody, and then you walk away. What would you be doing in your next part of your life? And I was touching 50, and then I said, okay, that gives me a lot of confidence. Children had now started settling. My son had already finished high school and was graduating out of NYU. And
Mm.
so we decided that, okay, I should take the plunge. And courage, as I said, connected me back that nothing was going to happen. If I don't succeed, I'll give it 3 years. If I don't succeed, I will go back to a job. So, but
I love it.
I'm like a go-getter. And one thing the army makes you, as far as personality types, is we are the A type of personality. So we would make sure we don't fail in any way. That's what
Right.
the army training and leadership skills that we.
Totally, totally. I think, like, of course, by the time you started, or you decided to start, as you had rightly said, you have already done that for others.
Been there, done that 2 times over.
Yeah,
You
that too
know,
from really
yeah,
different fields. One was
yeah,
a
yeah,
sale thing, and the other one was a training, kind of a virtual
yeah. And
training
a
environment.
startup from
Yeah,
Silicon Valley,
right.
technology startup. I had no this thing to it because the first time over was a company that came and acquired us and
Correct.
then gave me a path, right?
Right,
So it was
right.
more of a learning experience. But a
Mhm.
startup was like you had to wear
All the hats.
10,000 hats. I had to manage. I formed the company,
Right.
uh, incorporated it,
Uh-huh.
wrote the articles, most of the SOPs,
Mm.
hiring process from the first employee. I was instrumental in hiring.
Awesome, awesome. Excellent, excellent. So actually, before we, no, I think we want to talk more about Priyamba, but as you rightly said about your family, I think they are a big motivation to
Yeah,
start Priyamba. So if you can just tell us about your support system, your family,
yeah,
friends, and then a little bit more about Priyamba's achievements as well.
yeah. Sure. See, what drives me each day as I wake up is my family. They come first, always and every time. Like I used to say, when we were in the military, the country came first, always and every time. But
Right.
here, my family, that's the most important thing. And we still are involved with our grandchild as he
Mhm.
starts school. Uh,
Mhm.
at least first part of the week, we make it a point to take him, feed him his breakfast, get him ready for school, take him to school, pick him up, take him home, prepare him for the evening, spend time with him playing. Then next day morning, wake him up. So 2 days in a week we do. So family is very important to us,
Mhm.
and it's good that it's also translated into their success. My children, both my son and daughter, are settled. They have their job, their wife. My daughter-in-law, Sharyu, is a doctor, and my son-in-law is a consulting specialist with Accenture. So all of them are settled well. And then my Priamba employees, I attribute the success of my company. Um, and over the past 2 years, all of the decades hard work in building Priamba, which started in 2013,
Mhm.
has culminated in success. In 2022, we got the federal government's Small Business Administration's award called the Emerging Leader.
Nice.
Yeah, and this year, Inc. 5000, INC 5000 has inducted in us as one of the fastest growing tech companies in America, because this is only
Excellent.
meant for American businesses.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, and I attribute my staff and members of and the engineers of my company to bring us to the forefront of all these accolades and awards that we are getting. And if it wasn't for us to have made it to the INC 5000 list of fastest growing companies, and that too in the first 50 percentile, I probably wouldn't have got the Entrepreneur of the Year award last week. So I feel that all of this is attributable to my employees, and I owe it to them. And this award is for them. That's how I would say. So if I feel that if one has the time management skills and
Mhm.
meticulously follows the calendar, on a very, I would say, clear vision, with, like Stephen Covey says, you have to sharpen your saw, which is the seventh habit,
Mhm.
one of the skills. Follow the calendar. Trust me, I would say that you will be able to accomplish all your business goals, and as well as enjoy excellent, fun family time.
It's very nice that how when you talk about family, you also talk about your Priyamba team family as such. It shows
Absolutely.
that they are what to say, they're all a part of your life. It does not like we always talk about work life balance and other things, but you seem to kind of bring them all together, each of
Yeah.
them supporting each other. So
Yeah.
you don't have to
Work life balance automatically comes when
comes
family
in.
is involved, because see what happens if it's all about work,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
if you neglect the family, what happens? It starts showing in someone, one of your employees. You don't know about them, what issues they are going through. So they have to be comfortable in being able to share that with me, right? And if I don't give that a priority, then I wouldn't know. And what it would happen is that helps also, apart from taking care of their family issues, being able to help them, show them a path in America, which is 20,000 miles away from their motherland, you know.
Mhm.
as they say, this is their karma bhumi. uh, so they treat me like, I'm like their father figure who's giving them of life. I take care. All of them have green cards today. The company
Mm.
has started 10 years back. Is today 50% of them have already got green cards. So I'm giving them a path to their family life, stability, you know. So, the life, work life balance has to be there. If you don't prioritize it, it shows in, you know,
I think a lot of people should learn this because it's not just treating them as resources, but
yes,
treating them as a team or your family. Because when you treat them just as resources who just have to do the job, only worry about their performance and not really taking care of what is actually causing the performance. As you rightly said, a person who doesn't have stability in their, what to say, a general life, they don't have a green card or whatever be the reason, they
yeah.
can't perform. But
Yeah,
instead of
because
not
always at the back of their mind, it'll be, what are my children going to do next? Have I
correct.
to go back to India? There's so much of uncertainty, right?
Right. In
If
these
I
times,
put myself in a situation where I say, hey, I was lucky that I got an opportunity to come here as a business leader, senior executive of my company. And the
mhm,
very year I came, my green card was applied, and in 6 months,
mm,
because I was the company officer and I
mhm,
was on a special visa like an L1A, I
mm,
got my
mm.
green card in 6 months.
Right, right.
I didn't have to worry.
But that's not the case with everyone.
So somebody
Right.
has to think about them, right?
Correct, correct. I think that kind of differentiates and a reason for most of Prayamba's success is because you think for them as well, not just for the company, but you think for the people, and you think the people are the company. You try to give the credit to them, even now, as you rightly did, makes them also want to do more
Yes.
and bring up the company and not think of like, okay, this is just one job, but think of it as, okay, this is my company. If
Yeah.
everyone feels that, the work happens really well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And all those things only come when you do some programs like this, where so even to be very frank, in today's business environment, not even the big companies are offering 401k.
right.
But
Mm.
we, in the profit sharing, are giving 401k to all my employees.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a great thing. Yeah.
So that kind of gives them that, hey, apart from what salary I negotiated, my employer of his own is contributing for my future. There's a
Mm.
percentage from the profitability that is coming to me.
Excellent.
And all I expect from them, as our mission of the company states, is, excellence is not just, something which a jargon, good to hear,
Mhm.
but that is the way of doing business at Priamba. Let's all work with excellence personified, and we bring well researched, innovative solutions to our clients to solve their problem. So when my average experience of my employees today after 10 years is 22 years.
Ooh.
So my employee workforce has changed, and today it starts from 20 years going up to 25 years, 27 years. And myself, I bring in 40 years of service. So all collectively, we bring in almost like 300 man years of service to this organization.
Excellent. And your motto, you kind of lead as an example from the front amongst them. So I
Yeah,
think it's easier for people to follow, not just put it in the website. This is our motto, but you have to
yeah,
also play the role of being a example leader
yeah.
for them to follow. And you're
And
doing a
that's
great.
where, when we build teams at client side, I have senior leaders, like I said, 20 years, 22 years, 24 years. So
Mhm.
if there is a young people coming in there, they learn a lot. And they
Right.
all come back to me saying, sir, I was very lucky you put me in this team, because I have been learning from them over the last year or so.
Excellent, excellent. So one more thing that you're also part of a community,
Yes.
and you also give back to the community. So
Yeah.
what's your community involvement and
Nothing is more fulfilling, for a business leader, or a successful business if you are not involved in community programs or giving back to the community, as they say in the United States. And as part of these personal and professional pursuits, uh, both me and my wife, we are involved in big time in community. I'm the president of a Shraddha Foundation, where I have taken over the last 12 years as the president to give back to the Indian Army or the Indian Defense Services. So, as you all would be seeing from all that news that comes out today, the environment around India and in the neighborhood of India is not that great. We have been having military operations and terrorism and all of that, where military is involved to protect our country, our motherland. And in that whole process, many of them, because we can sleep, or our parents or our dependents who are there in India can sleep peacefully. Our soldiers are sitting at the war front every day, fighting terrorism, fighting our adversaries like Pakistan and China. So, in the process, many of them are martyred. And over the last 12 years, what we have been doing is by rotation, we have been taking units that come from Punjab, Delhi, Haryana, Madras. This year was Bihar, Assam, because India, as I said, is very diverse, and we get soldiers from all parts, all different states of the country. And they have specialized units called the Madras Regiment, the Gurkha Rifles, the Assam Regiment, or the Naga Regiment, and similarly the Punjab Regiment, the Sikh Regiment, Garhwal, which is the ahead of Uttarakhand and all that area,
Right.
and the J&K Rifles. So almost every state in India, the Marathas, we
Right.
have units which are
Right.
pure units, but they have been mixed now. Um, but we what we do is we undertake to help these units, the martyrs' family, their children, education, giving their school fees, making sure they come out of +2 and go on to do a professional course. We take pride. Three of the soldiers' children are B.Techs now. They're finishing their engineering. One is a marine engineer, one is a computer science B.Tech, one is already graduated and is in Connecticut here, working as a software engineer. They're all coming from very underprivileged background, and you will be surprised to know that back in India, their pension for a soldier is 12,000 rupees a month, which translates to nothing like more than $150. So today we are privileged, and I feel that I attribute every part of my success and my life and career um, back in India and the US to my army and military discipline and training and education and what I did there, that I need to give back. And so we have been helping. Apart from that, we have Veer Naris, as we call the martyred soldiers' wives, widows. We rehabilitate them, we train them in vocational things, so that they can have a income from apart from the 12,000, and they all have families and children who are like, from children with 5 years, 4 years. Some of them have died in operation where the child was just born, you know so we give them $1,000 every 6 months uh, to beef up their income, help these Veer Naris. So we adopted almost like 30 Veer Naris, and almost like 50 children from all over India, for whose education I am taking care.
This is such a noble initiative, and it shows that how truly you feel of being part of your home country. And of course, military experience would have shaped you, but
And
trying to be in touch and trying to give back to the community there, and also you can give back to the community in very many fields. And I'm sure there are a lot of avenues you're doing it, but this is a
yeah,
cause very close to heart.
yeah,
That,
yeah. This is close to me. And similarly, my wife runs a charity called Gift of Future. They have
Mhm.
adopted about 70 children in Tamil Nadu,
Right,
whose education we've been taking care from 2011 when my daughter did her Arangetram. And we
right.
were so surprised that, in her Arangetram, the invitation, she said that she wants to do charity for underprivileged children in India. And then any proceeds that came in the form of gifts to her, she immediately formed this charity called Gift of Future. And from since then we have been taking care of the children and their education. uh,
Nice, nice. It's good to this kind of, as you said, it's fulfilling, and also you are able to make a difference. A small one for
yeah,
you, but will make a huge difference to someone back
yeah,
home.
huge difference, especially in the
Wow.
scenario of the gift of children, gift of future. Most of these children are from so underprivileged as disturbed families, just a mother, fishermen's children, children from the slums, who have nothing to do with, if nobody takes care of it, they don't even know what education is. But as they say, if you educate a child, you take
Yes.
care of 7 generations,
Right.
because it
Right.
becomes like, generation after generation, somebody from that family takes this.
Correct. You feed them, it's just for that day or that
Yeah,
time.
correct.
You kind of, they say that different things. You kind of give them clothes, okay, for some time. You give them shelter, a little bit longer, maybe you can give them a house. But you educate them, you are giving them a way to
That,
provide for themselves
yeah,
and
and their
also for many
families.
more.
Yeah,
So that's so good, and yeah, thank you
that's
so
how
much
we
for
give
doing,
back to the
uh,
community.
being a part of the community and also giving back to them.
Yes,
So this has been awesome. I just have one question. I know I've taken a lot of your time just before we, Sven. What's your advice for tech entrepreneurs? I would say advice for general young public as a young,
yeah.
graduates. What do you think they can do?
Yeah, drawing from my own experience, and the success that I have seen now with my business,
Mhm.
um, I would say one of the key things, if any, is that find your own USP, self
Mm.
introspect, understand what your USP is, create, um, I would say, excellence around that USP that you can offer in your industry that you
Mm.
choose to work in. Every industry is good, but to be successful, you need to have the passion. And that passion will come automatically if you're doing something which you really enjoy. And that will come only from your own introspection, your self introspection, and your own USP. You should understand what is it. Like, I connected back to my roots and
Mm.
I said, hey, this technology that I learned, why am I not going to use it in my business? If I just made it like purely an uh, IT based company, I would be competing with all the big names. I wouldn't
Mm.
stand a chance. But I took the USP, what I learned in DRDO, what I
Mm.
learned from a great scientist like Dr. Abdul Kalam, and then I put it to my business. And today I'm working in that domain in automotive, because I can walk the walk and talk the talk.
Right,
So
right,
when
right.
I'm in front of the client, I understand, they understand, this guy knows. I don't
Mm.
have to explain so much in detail.
Right. I think that brings a different perspective altogether. Not like just do it because that's a means to work with, not
Correct.
because that's what the market wants, but try to find something within you which, as you rightly put it, your USP or your passion or something which you have knowledge or have passion to kind of learn about and work on, because
Yeah.
that is going
And
to
once
help
you
you.
decide that,
Stick to it.
then before preparing your solutions,
Uh-huh.
you have to work and understand the market
Mm.
and first
Correct.
verify if the problem that you're going to solve for this customer or client is an existing problem or you are the solution. Because if it's an existing problem, there are already a lot of solutions there. So
Right.
you are again creating competition for yourself.
Right. Right.
And in this generation of, you know, tech entrepreneurs that you find almost coming every day, that is the way that you need to create your USP. Find the problem, see the marketability, understand competition, and ensure that your solution is marketable and you will be successful.
I think these are all, I think people can take it as mantras and start, like, working on it.
Working
Once,
on it,
yeah, because you kind of have seen all the, what to say, the
yeah.
market, you have
And
seen the
see,
length and
it
breadth of
doesn't
it.
end with just marketability. Beyond that, the
Definitely.
last but the most important thing is that any organic growth
Mhm.
results in sustainability only when done with perseverance and passion. The passion that I talked about, whatever is your passion and your USP, when you do it with hard work and perseverance, like, when we were children, I, I'm sure almost all of us would have heard this from our parents. Try again, and you'll succeed at last.
Mhm.
So perseverance is what counts. And going back to something in my business which I was told by when, emerging leaders award that I got in 2022 during the COVID. One of the things that part of that program of leaders was they made us do MBA
Mhm.
uh, program
Mhm.
from the American University in Washington, which is fully federal government. So one part of that was that if you have been able to sustain in your business for 3 years,
Mhm.
then beyond that you are going to be successful. It's the first 3 years in a startup which is the most trying period.
I think this is something which everyone should know, because in this age, people, that perseverance is something as a not a skill that everyone has. People want to, like, next day. Okay, I
Fast.
start. Yeah, fast, instant gratification. I have start a company. I have to become a Bill Gates tomorrow. So that's the thing that people come with. I think hard work, perseverance are all skills, and I think people have to take a leaf out of your story and
Thank you so
work
much.
on those things. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that will be it's a great advice to all the new tech entrepreneurs. So yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of our session. We've had, I am
Thank
sorry I
you.
took an extra 30 minutes of your time, but we've had such an interesting story from you, listening, like, right from your motivation to join the forces till how you translated and how each step kind of built in and how you could reinvent. And now you are the entrepreneur of the year, and rightly said so.
Thank you.
So, and wishing you a lot more success in the fields and any other endeavors that you take up. I'm sure you would do, you would bring a lot more to our interesting stories, and hope to meet you soon once you
Yeah.
start a new
Thank you so much, and I
reinvention.
wish your program and your listeners also a great, success in what you people, each one of you, are doing in your own way. And wish you all the very best for the coming year. And Jai Hind, as I would
Thank you
finish.
so much. Jai Hind again to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.